Lisa, what do you got?
There's a woman who lives in Chicago who was a heroin addict. Her life was consumed 24/7 with getting her next fix. What does she have to do with sports? She's Dwayne Wade's mother. When you hear what this woman went through, and this is all around the time that he has blown up as a star. So what I wanted to know is why, throughout all the times that she was high, or that she was in prison, or that she was a fugitive from the law, why did you love her so much? It's a Sunday morning on the south side of Chicago. Hundreds have gathered to worship. They are here to take in the words of the preacher. But this is no ordinary testimony.
Didn't nobody know that a little old kid named Dwayne Wade Jr. was who he was?
Blocked by Wade! Run right down the gut. Nice handoff to Wade. Unbelievable.
Dwayne Wade is a six-time NBA All-Star guard and the 2006 Finals MVP.
Oh! Wade puts it in!
Together with his mother, Jolinda, they share a story of redemption and forgiveness that's difficult to hear and even harder to tell.
Maybe I would have did it a little different. But what I have bought, the experience I bought, to be able to stand before you and tell you, don't mess it up.
To see people, listen to her, and to see people, want to become a part of what she's doing, it's amazing to us still, because she had to fight a lot of demons.
What was the likelihood that this is where you would end up?
Not a likelihood.
No.
The youngest of Jolinda and Dwayne Sr.'s two children, Dwayne, now 29, grew up on the rough streets of Southside Chicago.
Selling drugs was huge. Gang banging was huge. You see people run, and next thing you hear is boom, 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 and somebody fall right across the street from where you at. I've seen dead bodies in garbage cans and just walk by them, and it became common. It became like this is life.
Dwayne was just an infant when his father, an Army veteran, left his mother. After the painful breakup is when Jolinda Wade says she became addicted to heroin and cocaine.
Every day I had to have me some heroin. I was an alcoholic as well. I had to have me a drink. And I got to the point where I started sleeping in abandoned buildings.
I would be talking to her, and she would just doze off and pick back up the conversation 2 minutes later and keep going in and out and in and out. And I seen the needles laying around the house, but I seen my mother even seen her shoot up before. I've seen a lot of things that my mother didn't even know I seen as a kid.
Dwayne spent the early part of his childhood here in this apartment building. Your mom told us that when you were little, she would come home and you would be waiting up on the porch at night for 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Do you remember that?
Yeah, because I was nervous, I was scared. I didn't know,
scared of what?
Just her not being safe.
With Jolinda strung out on drugs, the responsibility of raising 4-year-old Dwayne fell to a 9-year-old, his sister, Tregill.
When it came down to washing clothes, getting them dressed for school, I did it.
My apartment, the place that they lived, that was their home. I was dealing drugs out of there, and I was allowing other people to deal drugs out of there.
Dwayne recalls police with guns drawn raiding his family's home when he was 6 years old.
I was laying on the floor watching cartoons, and they came in and they was looking for my moms. They was looking for drugs, and I was the first person they seen. So they picked me up and put the gun to the back of my head and told me to take me where your mother's at.
By the time Dwayne was 8, his sister Tregill had seen enough and decided he should go live across town with their father.
I had always wanted Dwayne and Tregill and them to come live with me. They were having some problems at home with Mom and her drug problem, and to see that, I don't think that was something that you really want your kids to see.
We would see our dad on the weekends, and we'll see him, and he was doing much better than we were. My dad had step kids at the time. They were all boys. They all liked to play basketball. They all were able to do the things that Dwayne liked to do.
One day, my sister tricked me and said we was going to the movies. We take the bus, and at the time, my father was staying on 79th and Marshall Field. It stops right there, and I see my stepbrother outside, and she's like, you know, there go Donnie, like, don't you want to go play? So I'm like, yeah, I want to go play. And then she said, I'll be back. I'll come back to get you tomorrow. So I'm like, okay, cool. She get back on the bus, and she never came back.
So how did things change once Dwayne was gone?
Once Dwayne left, I felt like I had nothing. So I became the worst drug addict that I ever could. My road went crazy. And it seemed like I couldn't get out of that place. It seemed like I couldn't get out of that place. I didn't care no more. I didn't even care if my mother knew I shot dope then. I just, oh my God, I became disgusting, even to myself.
So desperate for drugs, Jolinda began gambling with her life.
When I really, truly hit rock bottom was when I became the tester. The tester is someone who they bring a pack to, and they have you to test it before they distribute it. So if the pack was bad, then I'm just dead.
In 1992, Jolinda Wade was arrested for possession of crack cocaine with intent to sell and spent 5 months in the Cook County Jail. One day, 10-year-old Dwayne went to visit his mother. It was the first time he had seen her in 2 years since going to live with his father.
Probably the worst day of my life at the time of going to see my mother, you know, behind, well, what she calls behind the walls. But I'm like in the movies, I got to talk to my mother through a phone. And it's like, this is crazy. I can't touch her. I never went back after that because I couldn't see my mother like that. You know, I cried in the car on the way back.
He wanted to be with his mom, and he couldn't be with her. Hey, I didn't know what to say. I just held him in my arms and tried to console him. That's it. That's all I could do. Let him know it was going to be all right.
A former Army sergeant, Dwayne Sr. toughened his son up on the basketball court and instilled in him the drive to win. Over the next 5 years, Jolinda Wade was arrested twice more for selling crack cocaine and spent a total of 23 months behind bars. But while serving her second sentence in 1997, Jolinda failed to report back to prison while on work release. She returned to the streets instead, a fugitive from the law.
I walked back into my old life. Just walked right back into it. So now I'm back to chasing the drugs every day again.
What's that like, living every day knowing that that could be the day that you get busted and you have to go back to prison?
It was tiresome. I worked hard to be nothing.
But on October 14th, 2001, Jolinda found something that changed her life while attending a church service.
I remember sitting in the back, and the preacher at that time called my name, and he said, Jolinda, read 2 Timothy 3:5. It said, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. I heard the Lord telling me through that scripture, the party over with. I gotta die so that the Christ in me can live. So I'm tired.
Jolinda says she kicked drugs and alcohol cold turkey that very week. Dwayne, then a sophomore at Marquette University, came home for Christmas to be with his mother, who was clean for the first time in his life. But Jolinda still had to come clean with her son about a decision she had made. Dwayne knew that she'd been a fugitive from the law for 4 years, but what he didn't know is that she was going to turn herself in.
I said, I have to go back to prison. And his eyes watered up, and he started crying.
I was hurt because I had felt like I was just getting my mom back. Now she got to leave again.
On January 2nd, 2002, Jolinda Wade went back to prison. to serve her 14-month sentence. There, she started a ministry behind bars, while Dwayne, who was then 19, returned to Marquette.
He was not himself. They just didn't like the attitude at all, so I threw him out of practice. Went out in the hallway, I followed him, and I just got into him. And he started to break down and cry. And that's when it all came out.
With the help of Coach Crean, Dwayne came to accept his mother's decision to go back to prison and wrote Jolinda a heartfelt letter calling her his hero.
Me, his hero. The woman who dropped the ball years ago of his life. It made it worth the effort. It made it worth being off drugs. It even made it worth going back to jail.
On March 5th, 2003, Jolinda Wade was released from prison. 3 days later, she saw Dwayne play basketball for the first time in 5 years when she attended the final home game of his college career at Marquette with the Conference USA title on the line. What were you feeling inside when knowing that she was going to be there?
I'm nervous, anxious. You know, first of all, I haven't seen her in a while. So I'm like, okay, I want to see how she look. I want to touch her. I want to feel her. And I want to play great. And I want to win this championship.
There's the lob. Here he goes.
When I seen him play, oh my God. He was playing with so much passion, so much intensity was in him. And I was sitting up there just as excited and off into the game myself, man. I couldn't believe my kid. This was my kid.
Dwayne Wade making every big play, hitting every big shot here in the second half for Marquette.
Dwayne had 26 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists, and led the Golden Eagles to their first Conference USA championship. Dwayne took Marquette all the way to the Final Four that year. A few months later, the Miami Heat drafted him 5th overall in the 2003 NBA draft.
The Miami Heat, they've done it!
While Dwayne led the Heat to an NBA championship in 2006, Jolinda Wade was studying to be a Baptist pastor. She was officially ordained in January of 2007. Dwayne watched as his mother preached from the pulpit.
She got up there and turned into another woman. And I was just sitting there like, you know how like when people, how she watched me at games with excitement and joy, I'm watching her the same way. And I'm just sitting there and I'm just smiling. I'm just looking around like, it's my mom. Like, I'm proud.
Jolinda began to develop a following and started looking to buy a church in Southside Chicago. Ultimately, Dwayne paid nearly $2 million to purchase this property for his mother.
My son loves his mommy, and he believes in the God in me. He believes in the work that he see me doing. He believes.
Jolinda Wade says she's now been clean for 9 years, and Dwayne bears witness to the message of mercy and grace in her testimony.
And many are called, but few are chosen. Say that's funny because when I call them, they won't listen. They won't come out. They won't believe the signs, Jolinda. So now this is like a new beginning, you know, from the first 25 years was the first 25. I'm on the other side, 26. So we'll see how the next 25 go. So it's a new beginning.
Pastor D. Wade.
Yeah?
I can see it.
Amen.
I can't see it. Leave it up to my mother.